Welcome to the BXG podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as HBO shows and Disney Plus shows. I'm one of your hosts, Brenton Beswick, alongside my co-host, the 8th grade graduate himself, Greg Filson. Greg, how art thou this evening?
How art thou? I know how I'm feeling tonight, Brenton, but I don't feel like answering that right now. What? From Leo this.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm doing okay. It's been a weird couple weeks with school and kids finding out grading ends at a certain period of time, and it's more than a week before school actually ends for everyone other than 8th grade, and so kids just don't care. A lot of that, it's bad. And I thought, because I'm a new teacher, I thought maybe I was in the wrong and thought this is just how things were, and we just didn't know about this when we were in school because we just didn't care. Like, whatever, I was just going to act like the way I acted no matter what. But apparently I was correct in thinking this was crazy. And so every teacher there was like, usually it's not a week. It's probably 3 days.
Yeah.
Around there. But the craziest thing about this, and I knew about this from other things that I've done, other occupations I've had, but 8th grade graduation. Now, we joke around about being old, but we're not really that old.
Right.
We're both, in our later 30s,
right.
But we could still, if we were in peak physical condition, we could be, playing in the NBA. We could be having 6 or 7 more years left as quarterback in the NFL. So we're doing okay on that end of things, age-wise. But 8th grade graduation, this is ridiculous to me. Like, to have a whole ceremony about moving on to high school is, to me, weird. Like, congratulations, you can do basic math and spell words that have 3 syllables. Congratulations.
Is it because that it's like the last grade for that school?
It is the last grade for that school, but the thing I know is that that's a thing at other schools too. They still do that even if you're in the same thing now. I don't know if that's everywhere, but I definitely noticed that because I had to do an 8th grade graduation thing when I worked at the Record Argus, and that school was just the same school, so it wasn't anything crazy like that. It was, you just move on. I've probably been to more high school and graduation ceremonies than anyone ever, feels like, because I did so many working at the newspaper. And it's something else. Today you're just rooting for it to be a long one, so you just sit there and we have ours outside. It's 70 degrees outside and sunny, so it's nice. And so it's just weird to me. Now, obviously, I haven't been in Pennsylvania now for more than a decade. I don't know if that's a thing we do, if our brethren in the Western PA area do, but it was weird. It's weird to me because I've noticed it a lot here and in Texas. I only noticed it in the late stages of my career at the Record Argus.
Yeah, I don't know. So today was my son's last day of kindergarten. There wasn't like a kindergarten graduation. They had what they called move up day, which was just they met their teacher and their classmates for next year.
That seems like a good thing.
That's it. And
that's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, they did, but like the last week, the last week was like just fun activities and stuff, because their grades, well, they're in kindergarten. They don't even get
grades. They don't get grades.
You know what I mean? They get like smiley faces and stuff. And that's not true, actually. Anyway, not to clown on kindergarten, but whatever. Yeah, they didn't do anything like that. I don't think that the last grade in that building is either 4th or 5th. I don't know if they do anything like that for the kids who are leaving the building. I know I didn't have a 6th grade graduation when I was in 6th grade and moved from 6th grade to 7th grade over at the high school building. It was just, when I had a graduation? when I graduated.
When you graduated high school and moved on.
When I was graduated from high school. Yeah.
Just to stick on this, just for one more thing is, I think it's funny that your high school graduation is a bigger celebration. You have a party, and you have people, and there's cake and there's fried food and whatever.
True.
And when you graduate college, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, get a job.
Right. Yeah.
There's college, which is, whatever you think about graduating college, where just another step in the process, nothing.
Right.
And my mom and I went out to dinner, and that was it.
Did you walk?
I did walk. I did not want to walk. And then my mom was like, I did not spend this kind of money to not see you graduate from college. And I was like, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I am a mama's boy. I'll say that through and through.
Sure.
But
green and white. So
Point Park.
Green and white.
It was not green and white.
What? Isn't that the colors? The Pioneers?
It was voted on. It's so funny that you say this, Brennan. This is so crazy. It was voted on, but not anything I was a part of. I was part of the cool kids at Point Park, not the lamos. And I believe our colors were purple and gold. I literally don't know why. We had a whole thing about it. I believe one of our editors at the newspaper actually wrote a funny article about how all our colors are, white, like you said, white and green. And then why are we walking down this? I don't even really remember, honestly. Like, I remember going to it and it being very warm, an unseasonably warm Cinco de Mayo.
Well, I mean, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so you just don't know what you're getting. Yeah. And it was at the former hockey arena for the Penguins, the PBG
Civic
or
arena?
whatever. Civic, yes, I think it was that.
Or Mellon Arena?
Mellon, that's it.
Before it was PPG Place or whatever it's called now.
The new one. I actually saw the second concert there ever, Lady Gaga. Anyhow, so weird stuff I just remember. But I remember going there. I remember standing beside my friend Steph and Matt, who you've met. And I just kept making jokes.
Matt's been on the show, right?
Yeah, Matt's been on the show.
Summer of George.
And I literally could not stop making jokes. Like, I made fun of every single person. I somehow knew enough about every person at my school because it was small enough, and that I could make a little bit of a joke every time, to a point where like people had to tell me, like, you have to shut up. Like, you have to shut up.
I used to. Did you guys in high school have like the awards ceremony that just everybody who was in like National Honor Society, and if you got this grant, or if
we definitely did that. That was like the morning of graduation.
I
think so.
Yeah.
I believe that's it.
My friend Zach and I had a tradition dating back to like probably 8th or 9th grade, where we had a piece of paper and we would tally who got the most awards, scholarships, who got their name called the most. And I'll tell you what, when we were seniors and they organized things by height, we were sitting next to each other in the front row. It was hard not to get caught, but we pulled it off. We continued to keep score. It was our tradition. And,
a tradition unlike any other.
Yeah, there's a lot of this. But yeah, we pulled that off. And then, I think given the option, I wouldn't have walked at high school.
Literally, I mean, high school. I mean, I don't know.
I don't understand why everyone wore like, oh, we're going to wear a nice dress and we're going to wear like a shirt and tie and these nice pants. I wore cargo shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops.
You're a Cali bro. What you were.
I just was like, what, like, and I'm going to tell you right now, our speaker, or the guy who gave the keynote address or whatever it was, awful.
I black out these kind of situations,
right?
And I was a straight shooter, obviously all the way through high school and mostly through college. I was razor sharp. I didn't touch anything, but I do not remember anything. I literally because I don't like things that I'm forced to go to. That is just like, jobs to ceremonies. If I have to go to it, I'm like, this is a waste of my time. I've always been like that. I hate them so much. The only thing I like, I don't think you're forced to go. You do, I guess you do option to go to it. Obviously, I like a wedding. I love a wedding.
Yeah. Sure.
That is a ceremony I approve of 100%. Looking forward to going to the next one. Probably mine.
Yeah. I didn't walk either time. I graduated college for my undergrad or my graduate school. I didn't walk either time. I never
Did you get your graduate degree at Slippery Rock, Brenton? Edinburgh. I actually don't know. Edinburgh. Okay.
Yeah, I never set foot on campus, not once.
Nice.
It was all online. Yeah, didn't walk for anything of this. I have a work. It's like a cookout picnic on Monday that I'm dreading.
Those are bad.
Oh man, it's like way to go, everybody. There's gonna be over 60 people there. And I'm like, I'm gonna be popping out of van like fucking Pez.
Oh, here's the thing is I don't like going to ones for my own job, but Janie had one last week.
Right.
And so it was, a public school. I get there. First thing I see is a keg of a very local brewery here, IPA. Okay. Yeah. And I'm like,
so this was an adults only.
Yeah, I mean, there were kids there. There were kids there. Yeah. There was a keg. There was, people brought a lot of wine, good local Santa Barbara wine here. We're a wine country area. It's very good. Unfortunately, someone had pumped the keg too much, little amateur roll. It's like, I remember my first, keg. Actually, I really don't. I don't actually remember it. But
a lot of bubbles.
Yeah. And it was real bad. And people kept asking me as if I were some beer expert. Yes, I have brewed beer, but every single person, I go over to the keg and be like, so, you know what's wrong with this? And I was like, well, I do know what's wrong with it. Yes. Someone over pumped it and it takes literally 20 minutes for it to come back down. There's really nothing you can do right now except just drink foam. Yeah. But people kept coming to me like I was an expert. So I had a good time there. I will say 100% had a good time. Just was pounding. I didn't actually pound that much beer. It was a lot of foam. But there was a guacamole contest and Janie placed second and that was good. But the guacamole that won, and it had nothing to do with Janie losing. It was, I did not enjoy it. It had an aftertaste that was not to my liking.
You are known to not like things that are good.
No,
that makes sense.
I like things that are good. I like plenty of things that are good. This is the thing. This is the thing though, is it just wasn't to my liking. It didn't taste like avocados. Okay. I like my guacamole to taste like the main thing that's in it. That's my thing.
So you found it to not appeal to your taste.
I found it not to appeal to my taste. Doesn't mean I don't disagree that it winning, because I can understand it appealing to other people's taste. It was too sweet for me. So you admit at times that you understand that your opinion, when in the minority, may not be the correct opinion. I own that my opinion is just my own opinion on something. 100%. I'll admit that.
Remember that, kids.
I will 100% own that my opinion, except when it is about our flag means death.
Yeah.
That is where I am correct and everyone else is wrong.
No, you're
not.
That
is where I'm.
No, and this is
not funny. Point. It's not funny.
It's not funny to you. It's not funny.
It just isn't funny. It just isn't funny.
But you're in the overwhelming
everything. I find most things that everyone else finds funny. I do not find that funny.
Okay, that's fine. You do not find it funny.
I do not find it funny, and I believe I am correct.
But the overwhelming majority of people find it funny, which is why it was renewed for a second season.
I guess, and hopefully this season will be funny
to you.
I hope so. I hope it is funny to me. I hope it is written well.
You hope to find it funny.
I hope that Taika Waititi writes it instead of just putting money at it, because that was probably the problem. He threw money at it and he didn't do anything other than he started. It doesn't mean that has nothing to do with it. He didn't write or do anything else with it.
Something to do with it.
Yeah, it has something to do with it, but I don't think he put his effort into it. This is not Thor Ragnarok where he's like, I need to turn this around and make it funny and make it something else. But whatever. I mean, I digress. I will admit, when I will say 99% of the time when it is my opinion on something and other people disagree, I'm okay with that. I literally, like, I get mad about it. Sure. I certainly want to defend my opinion on anything like anyone else.
Yeah, sure.
Like I'm on ESPN doing those stupid shows. I will 100%. But God. At least the thing I will say, Brendan, I'm not fake about my thoughts on anything. I'm not like Stephen A. or that Skip Bayless are completely fake.
I don't know why
and
those two are
making up stuff for it. I'm 100% honest, and you are 100% honest. This is the one thing, like, we will argue about things, and like I said, I don't find something fun. I think my thing for humor is maybe different than a lot of people. I really do. Like, I just think things need to be written well and carried through properly. Not everybody thinks that. The other thing I'll say is a show like, you know, 2.5 Men was the most popular show for 6 years. And so
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory. And so that's just, I'm not trying to play that card. It's just, that isn't the kind of humor for me. And I'm not even saying that Our Flag Means Black, that just, or death, that was just something that didn't work for me. But I digress, Brett. I digress.
Did you ever do anything wild on the last day of school?
Wild on the last, I would say the only, like, I never did anything too crazy. Like, here's the thing is, I'm not a school person. I know I'm a teacher, but I'm not like a person that I always goofed off at school, but I would like goofed off within the parameters of school, of like, you're in between classes, you goof off. I was like a goof off maybe a little bit in class, but I had enough respect for authority. I might do something at the very beginning of class, and I might do something at the very end of class. The wildest thing that I ever did, and it's not wild. My buddy Matt, you know, had brought up 2 times. I'll let him know he's been brought up twice. On our last day of class, it was just this class where basically you just kind of shared opinions back and forth. There would be news topics and you'd talk about it, and you had to be rational, was basically the idea.
Ooh.
And
struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was one of those classes where, like, I literally can't believe my head didn't explode with some of the people in that class.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, whatever. And I mean, this isn't wild, but it was just fun. It was fun to do. And so I took my phone and I literally downloaded, this is the old school days, my LG Flip. I downloaded Alice Cooper's School's Out for Summer. And so I paid $3.99 or whatever that was back then for that, or my mom did, and didn't know until later. And I blasted it as loud as I could on my phone, or I had it set up loud as we could go. And the second that my phone said that time for that class, the next class always went over because people just talked and talked and talked. I geared it up, and the way our desks were set up, you had to walk around. Like, it was really like a science room or something where all the desks were, the table was connected, but we were in the very middle. So Matt and I, who always sat in the middle of it for fun, because we would argue with people and it would just all around us, we stood up on top of our desk. I played the song, and then we just sprinted, and I just went through every class, and not every class ended at the same time because this is college. Right. And I took my phone and I was just running to every class that was open and playing that song on my phone, just screaming the song to everyone. That's what I did. And then I think I ran outside and I think I may have taken a shirt off and just swung it around, and we're just like, probably double birding things. I don't know. But that was the only really, I didn't do anything too crazy. I was not as much as I'm a prankster towards my friends and, you know, maybe family to some degree, I always thought high school pranks were low brow. Not a thing. I think ours was at Lakeview. You're not going to be shocked by this, Brenton. I had no part in this. Drive your tractor to school.
I'm not shocked.
No.
I just figured that was the whole of
just the regular transportation.
That's like the old that's like the old ladies and gentlemen, there must be a Lakeview vehicle in the there's a Lakeview tractor with its lights on, license plate EIEIO.
I'd be more shocked if a tractor wasn't coming to school.
Oh my,
how dare you kids bring your cars to school.
I just assumed like Lakeview, Commodore Perry, Greenville, and Jamestown were all just basically the same thing as far as stuff like that. I remember we were playing Commodore Perry, and Coach Mike made sure tell your parents to get here early so they don't have to get their feet tracked up with all the hay seeds. I'm like, I feel like you can't say that. among many other things
you definitely can't say
he
that
can't
now.
say.
That you can't say that now.
Well,
you get away with that then.
Nah, you probably still get away with it now.
Depends on who's on the team.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think that we had one like really bad incident. I can't remember if we were in like 8th, 9th, or 10th grade, but we were throwing, and it was like I think Steven, our friend Steven, was involved in this because he was still at Mercer, so it must have been 8th grade. And the kids I hung out with, Mike Sankey. This is like 2 episodes in a row for Mike Sankey. Shout out Dallas Bookter. Couple other guys, can't remember exactly, but we were throwing water balloons at cars. Not a super safe thing to do.
Fun though.
Not fun when one of them was an unmarked state trooper.
Oh. That's hilarious.
But I'll tell you what, this is the thing about that. So circa that, actually, like 1998, 1999, and now 20 plus years later, you do that now, you're in placement for potential to create a catastrophe, all this stuff. We ran, so resisting arrest, all this different stuff. He just found us later at the park. We were playing basketball and sat us down and yelled at us, but then said the worst thing of all. Because it was a state cop from Mercer who knew all of our families. Said, well, I'm going to tell all your parents. And that was way worse than going.
Well, the worst thing that could happen is that.
Yeah, the worst thing that could happen. So
that's hilarious. I never heard this story, Brenton.
Yeah, that was juvenile.
I mean, this predates our friendship. So
yeah. Junior high, I think. So yeah, not the greatest decision, but I think that was really the only like last day of school shenanigans.
It was more of like
that we had going on.
I was never a big the big blow up shenanigans. I've never been a huge thing of. I'm more of like I'm a local shenanigan guy. Your friends, your family. Okay. mentally mess them people up.
Your friendly neighborhood shenanigans.
Yeah, your friendly neighbor. I'm like Spider-Man of shenanigans.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Like I've done some stuff to people on a very local pinpoint area of things that maybe they don't even know that I've done in this time period.
This is not a school thing, but this is possibly like one of the greatest pranks that I've ever been a part of. It's not really a prank. It was you, me, Dale, and Phil. And
what a crew that is.
I think we were at Phil's and we were playing basketball on the PlayStation, and Dale kept subbing out Luke Ridnour every single time. And anytime he would screw up, which was awesome because Dale sucked at video games, no offense. And every time he would do something, Phil was in the back of him going, Ridnour wouldn't have done that.
Yep.
Ridnour would have made that shot. And here's how long that whole thing prevailed was when Dale started coaching junior high basketball and I wasn't coaching against him yet. I would go to his games and sit behind the Lakeview bench and say, Ridnour wouldn't have called that play.
Oh, yeah.
And then my mom got in on it too.
It sticks with you. That kind of stuff sticks with you.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Ridnour wouldn't have made that joke on the podcast.
No, that's like, and that's the thing, is like those little jabs at people.
Yeah. Oh boy. What are we talking
Let's
about?
Like to the actual program, but I like that. This is a good little,
I'm actually
shooting the S.
Yeah. On tournament style, they call this waxing idiotic.
I like that.
Yeah. I was listening to their latest today where they're tournamenting all the nicknames. They did a tournament of all the nicknames that Austin gave to Guillermo throughout like the 1 year. And it was like 32 nicknames or something like that they started.
I love the nickname. I
I
got to catch up. One of my summer plans is to catch up on their pod.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So typically we talk about movies, and that's the other thing is there's not as much to talk about this week. So I just figured we'd just kind of shoot the shit for a little bit.
Reminisce.
Yeah. Was there something else? Oh, your whole jury duty thing.
Yeah. I just,
yeah.
You know,
that's up
you know what? We'll save that. This was a good combo. I'll save the jury. The jury duty thing that I want to talk about. It's evergreen. So
I have a quick jury duty funny thing.
Okay.
Because I got called to jury duty once. I got called once, and I didn't read the whole thing. The whole thing that you have to wear like pants. Like you can't wear shorts. You have to wear pants. So I showed up in a pair of nice khaki shorts and like a Nike golf shirt, like a decent, dry fit Nike golf shirt. And they said, you have to go home. I said, why? They said, you're not allowed to wear shorts in the courtroom. And I look over and the dude standing next to me has a mullet, a dragon shirt, and wind pants with holes through them. And I said, is he getting sent home? And they said, no.
I'll make a long story short, since that's
America.
I'll make a long story short. So, when you read the thing, it's like you are judged by a jury of your like peers. And I am there in a blazer, a shirt and tie. I'm looking, because this is just how I approach life. I wear a shirt and tie and a blazer every day to work. And so this is how I appear in front of the court. And there is a guy in front of me, and this is like they require you to wear a mask at the courtroom still in Santa Barbara here. This guy has his mask on, but just on his chin. So he's the hole that he's breathing through in his chin. Yeah. His pants, every time he sits down, you see half his ass. And his shirt only covered, it was a little like a midriff shirt. It's a nice little 80s running. And this guy is not someone that you want to see in a midriff. And I'm like, you're trying to tell me that myself and this person are like peers. And this is where I have a problem with the judicial system. Like, let's think this through. We are not like people. He may be a smart person. This is not this. I'm just saying our idea of how things work, obviously very different.
Probably not similar.
Obviously very different. I was going to go in a longer story, but that cuts to the chase.
I had found out how much my cars are going to cost to get fixed. No. I have to pay $500 deductible on each car. And I was told, and for the listeners, I had a tree fall on both of my vehicles. It wasn't a big tree, so it's not a lot of damage. But I was told that my neighbor, who the tree belonged to, the homeowner's insurance would not cover the claim because it was a quote unquote act of God. And I said, I don't believe in God. Try again. And they said, well, then it was an act of nature.
And you said, I don't believe in nature.
So
you got one more try.
I said, because they said, have you had a conversation with your neighbor about any concerns with the tree? And I'm like, who the fuck has that conversation? It's like not a neighbor. Well, it's not even that. I mean, I don't talk to my neighbors, but I can't imagine that being on the top 10 topics of conversation. Like, that tree that hangs over my driveway, look a little rickety. I'd like you to sign off that we had that conversation.
That's our generation though. Our parents' generation, that's topic number one. You walk over, you're like, anyhow, Jim. I knew we were going to talk about having beers this weekend, watch the game, but that tree, we need to do something about that tree before any of this football business happens.
And the guy that lives behind me, is probably around maybe a little bit younger than my parents' age.
Okay.
And he came to the door. Well, he said he watched it happen. this is how I know he's of that generation. He was like, yeah, I was having a cup of coffee and just saw it happen. A cup of coffee was 8:30 at night. Okay.
Midnight.
So he comes
my
to the
midnight
door,
cup of mud.
he
ready
comes
to
to the
go.
door and he says, I just want you to know I watched this tree fall on both your vehicles. You might want to check that out. So I come back down and it's a thunderstorm. It's the middle of a thunderstorm. I'm looking at it. I'm like, yep, that's definitely a tree on both my cars. He says,
a tree.
He goes, you looking to cut that up tonight? I was like, no, no, I'm not.
Because he's like,
because he was like, I could see he had gotten the chainsaw out and was like oiling it up.
Oh yeah, he was ready to put it in his fire pit.
He was on.
Yeah,
it,
that guy was ready to go.
Oh, good dude though. He helped me out a lot.
That's good.
I digress. So, what do we do here on this show? Typically,
occasionally we talk about TV shows.
Yeah, that's
movies.
what we started to do. That.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, episode 3, and in this episode, Obi-Wan and Princess Leia make it off the planet to where the cargo ship is headed, which is a empire controlled by the Empire, and they're going to be taken from one ship to another ship with some safety involved. They're hiding out. They're seeing that this is sort of a Jedi Underground Railroad situation. They've seen Obi sees some carvings by some of his mates. And before they're able to get out, the Inquisitors show up and they begin searching the town. And they think they're onto them, but then somebody else shows up. And we get our first glimpse this season of Darth Vader. And Obi-Wan tries to distract him while Leia gets away. They have a little bit of a duel. It's pretty one-sided, I would say. And eventually he's able to escape with some assistance, although it appears as though the third sister has lured Leia away. And so now we're going to see a little bit more conflict with that. Now, before we get started on the actual review, I just wanted to say real quick that last week we did our reviews and we were critically tough on Moses Ingram, the actress who plays third sister. However, after the debut, she received a lot of very racist and threatening DMs and messages and a lot of online hate.
Yeah.
And the whole toxicity of the fan base, which the Star Wars fan base can be very toxic at times. We don't condone that. I think
that had nothing to do with anything like that.
I think that we were tough on her critically, but I think that it was fair criticism.
Tough but fair. Sure.
Certainly nothing but, nothing but well wishes. And we talked about hoping that, maybe her character develops, stuff like that. And I feel like, if you're one of these people, then you're just kind of an asshole. And there's no
probably not kind of. You just are.
Yeah. There's no room for you in really. If you're one of these people, I don't know why you're taking up our oxygen. And the reality of it is that you probably should have been swallowed. So
I 100% agree. Like I said, I mean, it's so weird. Like, because we were talking about that, and then I ended up looking back on things, and I was like, I thought to myself, but I figured we talked about it in the show, and I wasn't going to text you. I wouldn't have put like more stress on it's like no one thought that's what we were doing. It was to me, it was like that doesn't matter to us, any of that. It was that we just thought it wasn't, not the greatest performance ever.
Right.
And the thing I'll say about us, Brent, is we are tough but fair on everyone. Mm-hmm. So I hope everyone sees that or, listens to that and understands that. That was just our opinion. If you're criticizing her and going online, honestly,
well, it's not the criticizing, it's just the stupidity.
Well, the stupidity of it. And I mean the criticizing in a wrong way, just the backlash of being stupid. Yeah. And that's one of those things, like that's uncalled for, unnecessary. And Also, it's just, you don't even like Star Wars then. I mean, that's just one of those things where you are in it for a whole different reason.
Right. And that's what
Star Wars is a very diverse
yeah
mechanism of entertainment. And like for you to go around and act like this is insane. The most popular character in Star Wars, or one of the most popular characters in Star Wars, is voiced by James Earl Jones.
Right.
So,
yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. I always kind of like looking back, I kind of found it like it's kind of fascinating to think of. I think that there's a few different angles from this. And I do think that there's one in particular that people are upset at, but they're directing their hate at the wrong people. Mm-hmm. Mainly the actors who are just trying to do a job. Like this was supposed to be her first big break. Like she'd been in some things. She was in Macbeth and she's done a couple other things, but this was supposed to be like her like breakout role and everything. And it's almost like, I feel for her because this is like it's being taken from her. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So a couple of the different angles before we get into the actual review of the episode, but a couple of different angles is I know that people are very upset with the quote unquote wokeness of Disney, where it's like, oh, Obi-Wan and across from her is a strong female lead. It's like, oh, the Disney's so woke. Or some of the Marvel stuff, same thing. Oh, we're just getting woke Disney because it's, there has to be an LGBTQ scene in the movie in Doctor Strange. They're so woke. Sure. It's like, well, then don't fucking watch it.
Also, that is actually life, everyone. Welcome to the world where people are gay and bi and everything else. Like, it's literally the world. Yeah. And it's just, it's actually how the world works. And if you don't like it, you don't need to be concerned with it. Don't watch it.
The content. Yeah. You can stay in your white landowning male echo chamber and, just that whole thing.
Watch. I don't even know what people
just go back and watch old episodes of Archie Bunker.
There you go. Perfect. Brandon.
I always kind of like had this thought though, that like from a pure storytelling standpoint, I've always had this thought that the Empire was racist, because when you so just follow me on this though, because
I bet you're right. Yeah.
Whenever you see Empire, military officers, there's never any black guys. There's certainly never any women, and I would say there's never any species of other aliens.
That's true.
It's all white dudes.
Yep.
And, I kind of thought, like, to me, I was like, well, and then especially with the prequels, when you see that the Jedi come in all shapes and sizes, right?
Yep.
So like the Empire has this almost like, and I think a lot of there's certainly been the cases that the Empire or the First Order draw close comparisons to the Nazis, but I do, or like the Gestapo, but I do feel that, like, if you look at the storytelling, I was like, well, clearly these guys are racist.
Right.
There's no aliens. There's no women. There's no people of color in their ranks.
It means something. This is, as much as people maybe hate on certain things, this is well thought out science, sci-fi, in its initial thing. And I think it kind of carries on with that. Like you said, if it's relation to the Nazis, I mean, like, there's a reason why you root against the Empire.
Right.
There is, even because a lot of it is like, oh, well, it
evokes that imagery.
Yeah.
It evokes that imagery. And that was the thing that I thought, especially in the Force Awakens, when they're doing the scene where Commander Hux is like giving the speech and making all these gestures, and they're all in their columns and everything on Starkiller Base. I was like, good gracious, this looks like something straight out of Berlin in the 1930s.
Yeah.
But all that aside, we stand with the actress Moses Ingram. It's wrong to have that kind of behavior, obviously.
Right.
And, if you don't like the performance, say you don't like the performance, separate the art from the artist. You know what I mean? Mm. So, but with that being said, Obi-Wan episode 3.
Awesome. Just flat out. And it was start to finish awesome, because you could feel the tension at the beginning. and building, and then here comes Darth Vader, because you have the last scene from the second episode,
right?
And you get him, you get him very quickly, and then there is the fight, which is obviously one-sided, like you said, and he's just because Obi-Wan's still struggling. He's struggling. Yeah. This is coming off an injury. This is that mental it's always the mental, not the physical, coming off that injury, and you can feel that, like you said, with Leia and everything. It's just like things are at stake, and it's so funny because it's like what happens to Leia, but yeah,
we know what happens to all of these characters,
right? Right, exactly. But because Leia's a child and stuff like that, that's where I'm going more or less. Is just that there is that different kind of fear. What happens to every single character, but the way that they do storytelling in this, I think, is incredibly well done. I am, the first episode was fine. The second, this is definitely building every episode, and it has, to me, a storyline that lends to that when Darth Vader is the enemy. I mean, when you have we've considered him 1 or 1A. I think is really
2 of iconic movie villains,
right? Ever. And just to see him, I mean, it literally hits every time. Is there anyone that hits every time like Darth Vader? I don't think so.
Jaws.
I don't think there's this. Maybe Jaws, but it's just like, even though it's coming in this episode, you knew it was going to come in the third episode. I was just like,
we hoped.
It was not a new hope. It was an old hope for me on this. It was like I was 100% like it happened, and I gave a fist pump. Like I just
I'll tell you what it was that got me, and to kind of tread on what you're saying there is, I was very fearful that this episode would just be more of him being hunted by the Inquisitors, and not any added level of danger. But when you see everybody line up, in the town, you see everybody line up in the Inquisitor set, and then you hear the breathing, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
But then the real moment that got me was when he talked, and it was James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
And that's when I audibly out loud said, fuck yes. Because
actually might have done the same too. I kind of black out there in these where it's just like, I'm so happy because it just either harkens back to your childhood or whatever. It's just like, this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted out of this show.
But I was talking, and so as great as it was, and Vader's just absolutely ruthless, walking through town, snapping necks, choking people out.
The giving no F's is so great.
Yeah, it's just so the great level of brutality that we've really only seen on screen at the end of Rogue One. And so he's just kind of, this is the first time he's seen Obi-Wan in 10 years since the events of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And so he's been carrying that hatred the whole time. But I was talking with friend of the program and one of our most consistent listeners, Jared Lambert, about this, and said, if James Earl Jones is the voice, what's really the point of bringing Hayden back?
There has to be a reason.
It's Hayden in the suit, because there was a whole thing about how they had to bring in a Darth Vader movement coach, which tells me that Hayden's acting chops have aged like fine milk. But
he's really good in Shattered Glass, everybody, because he literally plays the exact thing that you think he is. And I will say
Anakin.
Yep. 100%.
It's just,
I
wonder like too, there was something, I read something somewhere about how they were given, he and Natalie Portman were given no direction for the romantic scenes in
right. Yeah. I've heard that too.
And how it was really poorly written, and that's why it came off just terribly.
Wait, the prequels were poorly written?
Yeah. The same guy wrote them that wrote the originals.
It's crazy.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But that's the thing is why bring Hayden back if all he's going to do is walk around in the suit?
I feel like we're going to get a flashback scene. I feel like that has to happen.
Or there's going to be something where he has the helmet off.
Yeah.
And that's going to be uncomfortable.
It's going to be super uncomfortable.
Because he got burned.
He got burned real bad.
Real bad.
And then the skin graft technology back then. Because
it was a long time ago.
Galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. He didn't have the higher ground.
Not. You
I
gotta
love
have
that they
higher
included that in the like flashback or like the recap of the sequel.
One of my favorite overacted scenes of all time, and I love it every time.
Oh
Scream it. I just scream it sometimes at just a dog.
You should scream it at one of your students that gets a bad
I
grade
will.
on a test.
Maybe at the end of this year, just somebody that does not as well is like, hey, chosen on the higher ground.
Oh man,
that hits every time too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't know. Ewan McGregor doesn't get enough credit for holding those prequels together.
He's great.
But yeah, I mean, there's no next on, but
the glue in McGregor, if you will.
There, as long as they keep giving us enough Vader, I'm just going to ignore that. As long as they keep giving us enough Vader, then this series will remain interesting.
Yes.
But if this was just a tease and now we don't get him again till the 6th episode, that's going to be pretty disappointing, actually. I think at this point, he needs to be in. He needs to be in every episode now.
Yeah, you don't fade the bait. You bring him out.
That's
guns a-blazing.
Saber
a-blazing. That was good. That I'll tell you, the glue in McGregor.
It wasn't good.
Really good.
No. So excited moving forward.
Together. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Super excited. Very high expectations.
Good. So we move on to our other review of the week, and this is a season review of the 6th episode limited HBO Max series from the creator of The Wire, David Simon. We Own This City, based on the disgraced gun trace task force led by Sergeant Wayne Jenkins in the Baltimore Police Department following the Freddie Gray riots in the latter half of 2016 and early 2017. There were 6 members of the force, or 5 members of the force, and one, I think, retired gentlemen who were arrested for police brutality, theft, falsifying evidence, falsifying overtime fraud, among other things. John Bernthal starred as Sergeant Wayne Jenkins, and then Jamie Hector, who was in The Wire as Marlowe in The Wire, starred as Detective Sean Suter, among others who pop up in this show. So, Greg, you haven't seen The Wire the whole way through, right?
That's correct. I watched the first season and I started watching the second. The second one didn't really work out.
Second season's rough. You got to head down, power through.
Yeah. And it was just, I didn't have HBO. It was like a lot of things too. It was just, at that time, and move on.
But We Own the City.
But We Own the City. I will say I love cop shows. Mm-hmm. Like I love Hill Street Blues. Like I love that show. That's what got me into it. I used to watch NYPD Blue way before I should have. My mom's cool. She let me watch it, and I love that show. I'm a big fan of like cop, when they're realistic cop shows, not like the stuff that kind of comes on now on network, where it's just like, I don't even know, it glorifies it. It's not that great, and it glorifies it in like one way or the other, whether it's good or bad. It's just is too much. This is like, for those out there who haven't watched Hill Street Blues, 80s show that's like probably like, I think for most people it's kind of the show for a cop show, where it does a really good job of like dealing with everything, but in a nice storytelling way. This show, like I said, The Wire I didn't watch the whole way through. We are actually planning on watching it the whole way through this summer. Mm-hmm. This show, We Own This City, is what I like to say is prestige television.
Yeah.
This is, because I had told you that, I actually, it's not that I forgot to watch. I just had so much going on, and I was just trying to do a lot of other things. And I was like, I hope I get through it. And then you're like, oh, I can easily get through this, because this show is a fucking masterpiece of television that I don't get all the time. And I'm so happy it exists. And it was one of those things where I just like, I couldn't stop watching it. I was so enthralled by the story. And it's written by Baltimore Sun reporter. The book is based off Baltimore Sun reporter Justin Fenton's book. And it literally just came out last February 2021. So this is how quickly this was turned around into a TV show.
Yeah.
Because this story is so enthralling and the acting so good. Like, you know, someone's really good when John Bernthal makes you hate him as a like, you're just like, I kind of just want to punch Justin Bernthal in the face because he's so good at acting as this disgusting cop.
Yeah.
Even though you like, and I've watched John Bernthal like do interviews. He's the coolest guy in the world. Like, he just seems super chill. And yet in this depiction of this cop that he's playing, it's just insane. And I'm not getting into the politics of police. Like, this isn't where I need to get into. This is just this city, and Baltimore's very well known for its corruption and policing and violence and crime. And they give the whole thing at the end of this or whatever. But this city is very well known for this. I went to Baltimore when I was a kid. I was probably 13 or so. We went there. And it's just we were in a good part of the city, and yet it's police sirens all night. Yeah. And it's only worse now. This to me was it was realistic. And I don't think it wasn't a thing where it was supposed to be like defamatory towards police. It was defamatory to a city about how you run your system, and that it really does start at the top. Yeah. Because it really did trickle down from the mayor to everyone was corrupt. This entire system was fucked from the beginning, and there was no way anything was going to work out well. And it was so well done. I mean, like, obviously The Wire gets really good accolades, and I can't wait to really go back and really, fully involve myself in it. I mean, this is a show. This is for me why HBO exists. Yeah. Is this kind of show.
I will say that The Wire taking place in the same area, and it's like obviously David Simon's comfort zone, but this being more of a true story, and from all the research that I did on this, it's very factually based. It's very much, there's not a lot of sensationalization. I do think that with this, it's hard to compare, this to The Wire, because this is a six episode limited series, and The Wire is 5 seasons of 10 or more episodes. It's just it like whet my appetite for The Wire, because there hasn't been. The Wire turns 20 this year. Yep. This is the 20th anniversary of The Wire, and there really hasn't been anything like it since it came on. And this is really the first thing in that wheelhouse. It's not as good as The Wire. I would say it's kind of The Wire light. And it's like a version of like the best episode of Law and Order on steroids. And
I'll say I like Law and Order. I will say that is a show I do like.
Yeah, I mean,
I will point that out.
Sam Waterston's a legend.
Yeah.
This is again hard to compare, but in many ways very similar. Is they do this with the police and the politics and the police department, the commissioner and the mayor and the government agencies with the civil rights thing. He just does such a great job of exploring the city down to its DNA, right, and showing you the ugly side of this city. And this could have been made anywhere. I mean, it could have been made in any big city. The same thing with The Wire. But like you said, I mean, Baltimore is known for being a bad town. You know what I mean? And I think that in a lot of ways, it's a microcosm of a lot of the things that have happened over the course of the last 20 years in this country. And some of the performances were fine, but Bernthal, I never really liked him in anything that I've seen him in. I haven't seen him in a lot. Walking Dead, maybe like one or two.
He's in like some Scorsese movies, and yeah,
he carried the load in this show, and I was like,
yep.
And Jamie Hector, who played Detective Sean Sutter, was kind of the emotional piece, but like John Bernthal carried the load on this show. And I have myself a very newfound respect for him as an actor. I do think that this is probably one of those roles that he fits in because he did like The Punisher and he was kind of like this in Walking Dead and stuff like that. But
yeah,
he plays, I think he's got a little bit of the same thing as Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch plays a good prick. I think maybe that John Bernthal plays just kind of like a good asshole.
Yeah.
But you know, we've been talking off air and stuff like that, and about, you know, the show and police corruption and things like that. And obviously we kind of ended the show last week with it, but yeah, I mean, this is, I think that this show is probably a good example of how fucked up things can get when they, like you said, start at the top and trickle the whole way down to the bottom. These guys were collecting overtime when they were in vacation in the Dominican.
Yep.
Like that was the thing, is as bad as like the stealing of the money and stealing the drugs and everything. I think that that's the thing that they really got the most pinched on, was the overtime fraud.
I think, well, it's because like it's so blatant.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, they felt like they were bulletproof.
They own it, like literally say we own the city. I mean, like this isn't, you know, and that can be cheesy in some ways when you like say the title in your, but it actually was like perfect for this when he says that, like, we own this, like we are invincible. And for a long period of time, they actually were. That's like the thing. It's like, this wasn't a microcosm of like 6 months.
No, this was like over a decade
of them doing this and getting away with it until finally like people came forward. And it's just, like you said, it's a microcosm maybe of the world, you know, at large, the United States, you know, definitely. But police corruption's not new, and then city corruption's not new either. It's just that Baltimore is one of those examples that really is, I hate to say it, but it's easy to put together in a way because it's so corrupt. It's been so bad for so many years. And like the other thing about Baltimore is that people from Baltimore love Baltimore.
Yeah.
And that's like the other thing. Like there's few cities in this country of that size where like the love is actually that strong. Mm-hmm. It just isn't. You don't see that in cities like that kind of strong will where like, yeah, this city's corrupt, but I still, you know, I'll live and die through, you know, Baltimore. And that's what shines through the show. Everybody's wearing an Orioles shirt.
Yep.
Everyone's wearing a Ravens shirt, and it's like good and bad. That's just how this works. And that, to me, I think I really like that too, where it's like, even though the good and the bad are way different and there's a direct line, we all still love this city. It's just a different way.
Like I said, and that's what, and with this show and The Wire, is they get into just the absolute, especially with The Wire, because it goes through all the different facets of the city. With the second season's weak, I'm not going to sit here and deny that the second season's a slog. But if you can get through it to the third, fourth, and fifth seasons, because I think the third season is every bit as good as the first one. The first one is widely considered the best, but
first one's awesome.
They're in the absolute nerve endings of the city. I mean, it's just, they're so to the roots of it. It's so impressive how authentic they make it feel. And I know one of the people who commented when we did we did the trailer reaction for this, and one of the people commented that a lot of this was filmed where they lived. And so I found that to be very interesting to see. And I hope that person checks out the review and comments what they thought of the series at large. But yeah, I mean, for a 6-episode limited series, I felt like this was very powerful. And, you know, it like I said, it whet my appetite for The Wire, but I really want to see something like that on that scale again.
It'll have to be David's time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So what would you give this out of 10 for the season?
I say 8.0. Like,
yeah, I think it's probably an 8.5 for me. So probably average out to 8.25. But yeah, if you have HBO, I mean, it's a quick watch. I mean, episodes move.
Every episode's around an hour, but once you start watching it,
yeah,
you're like, oh, I'll just watch this all.
I watched the first 4 episodes in like a day, which is really
I watched
hard
the
to
first
do
2,
kids.
and then I literally watched the first 4 between yesterday and today.
Yeah,
the last 4. Yeah, so really good.
Let's see here. If you like that type of content, if you like our content, give us a like, subscribe, ring the bell over on our YouTube, where this will appear as a video, or you're already watching it as a video, as well as Obi-Wan. You can check us out on social media, facebook.com/BXG Podcast, Instagram @BXG Podcast, @GTFills, @Y2B, Twitter @BXG Podcast, @GTFilson, @Y2B, Discord. Come on and hang out with us, talk about the shows that you like, things like that. And then, like we said already, on our YouTube, which is BXG Podcast. Take care. I mean, I thought this was a fun episode.
Just real quick, media recommendation.
Sorry. Yeah, media recommendations.
Not that this is like anything, but Stranger Things season 4 is really good. We finished this first part of it, and it doesn't come out till July. I saw some bad reviews of it. I will say I 100% disagree on the matter. This season's way creepier and way darker, but still a lot of fun. So that's really my only real, beside what we talked about. My recommendation.
Sure. Yeah. I felt like that was a fun episode.
Yeah, really good episode.
All right. Take care, friends.
Thanks.